Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Heather.
And I'm Judith.
And we are here to talk to you about a question I feel like we get a lot in customer service. Like at least once or twice a week, somebody will email Sylvie and ask,
Yes.
like, how do I transfer? Like I've made a muslin and I've made adjustments and now I have to transfer it to my pattern. Like, how do I do that? And I feel like when I was teaching a lot in person, this was a thing where we would make pattern modifications and then it was difficult for them to figure out how to transfer it. And Judith is like your title in the company is sewing expert, which is a hilarious title. But
that's a part of what I do.
I think it covers the range of your duties, which is like you do, well, used to be the only sample maker.
Yes.
You're responsible for all of our fittings.
Yes.
You write all of our instructions.
Yes.
So you're kind of like involved in the pattern process from start to finish.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you first started, I was much more involved in fittings.
Yes.
And now
you're never there.
And it's wonderful. Not that I don't like fitting, but I trust you guys so much, and I think you guys could tell from our photo shoots, like fitting is really important to us. We'll show you some photos so you can see sometimes how much fitting will do.
It's crazy, yeah.
And I think some of these will like maybe make you feel better because it's very rare that we have a model come in and we're like, no adjustments.
No, you always have to make modifications because your body is so different and from one person to the other.
Yeah, and even like if we were shooting, like we have a model that's like kind of a straight size 10, you know, basically right in the middle, and we still are making modifications. So I think just from the beginning, I think it's really important to say that there's nothing wrong with your body. No. There's nothing wrong that if you need to make adjustments, your body is perfect as it is in this moment. It is completely normal to have to make adjustments from time to time.
And through your life too.
Of course, your body changes. My body's changed so much over the last couple of years. I'm sure it's gonna change more. I mean, we're starting to get into menopause.
Yeah, I'm right in it. So I'm gonna be 50. So I'm the one that's freaking out all the time.
You're fully in, going into menopause and hot flashing, and I'm like, I can see it in the distance.
Yeah.
I'm like in the pair stage. So this is a period of time where our bodies change. Yes. And if you're nowhere close to this, it's coming for you. Get ready. Okay, so I would say probably the most common way that we make adjustments is, this is a good example here. I'm going to hold this up to the camera. Yeah. So this is Rose. This is a model we use for Deer and Doe. Again, Rose is kind of like a straight size 10, I think. Really she might be a little bit in between, which is why when we tried this on, you can see here, we were like, ooh, we really need to let out that side seam. So
and she works out, so she was like, her back was more developed.
So she maybe had like a broader back.
Yes.
And then we needed to kind of come in and add width. And so this is a really common way where we'll do an alteration, or I should say you will. You're just going to literally safety pin in fabric.
Yeah, I'm just going to open the side seam and put a piece of fabric and measure it.
So you might look at this and go, okay, well, great, but then how do I convert that back to my pattern piece, obviously, right? Because you've made a muslin, hopefully you've made a muslin, and those adjustments now need to get transferred back to your pattern pieces so that you can actually cut out your final fabric and make it.
Exactly.
So the first method we're going to talk about is just like measuring and then transferring.
Yes.
So you're not necessarily tracing anything, but you're actually just going to take the muslin that you made, you're going to get a ruler, and it might feel like, oh no, like no crap, Heather, I'm going to measure this and transfer it, but sometimes it's not intuitive.
No, it can be, and Muncie has a great trick. She does lines on the piece of fabric that she's adding, like 1 centimeter, or you can do like 1/2 inch. So then also you can see that's like the middle of your seam.
Right.
And then you added.
So in this case, we like added the fabric and then we just took a minute, drew a line on either side so it's really clear on the adjustment. So this is the Leela dress from Deer and Doe. So it's kind of like a bustier style pattern. I actually think it comes together quite easily and it's very supportive, but there are a few different cut pieces.
Yes.
So in an adjustment like this, we're looking at like the back part, right, the band. We have 2 little cut pieces here that are getting adjusted, and then we have the skirt back and then the skirt front. So
side.
So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces that need to get adjusted. So, okay, so this is simple enough. I need to add a centimeter here and here. But what would you use as a reference to know where you kind of dye this alteration back in?
Sometimes I'll measure from the top up to here and put all my pattern pieces together. Or sometimes, like I did here, I traced it and stitched with another color, so then I can see like this was the line for my
Waist?
My waist, yes, sorry. So I can say, well, I'm like half an inch above my waist, so I can measure.
So I want to
like a triangle.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I was getting to.
Yes,
is
sorry.
using reference points
Yes.
on the pattern. So if the pattern has a notch in a particular part, if there's a waist or bust point that gives you kind of like a vertical point to use as a reference, those are really helpful to help you then figure out where this modification is going to start and stop. So we're looking at this. So this you're like, this is a dog's breakfast. How do we get to this, to a finished pattern? And so what you did is you didn't go and trace new pattern pieces.
No, I just modified the ones we had.
You just modified the ones we had, exactly. So here's that back piece.
Oh, just one thing. I print. This is not like a finished pattern. Those are the ones we use
Before they get formatted.
Formatted for you guys. So I always print my seam allowance because you want to measure from your seam allowances.
Of course.
Not from the side of the pattern. So you have to draw your seam allowance.
Very good point.
Yeah.
So when our pattern gets exported from the printer, basically we can see the seam allowances when we've imported it into Illustrator and we're going to print it. Unfortunately, we can't keep those seam allowances on for you guys because
too many lines.
You would be looking at it and your eyes would go cross-eyed.
Yeah.
But you can, exactly like Judith said,
Draw
trace your seam allowances. So we have a ruler. So this is a ruler that it's called the seam allowance curve. There's a wonderful store on Etsy. She has a small business. She sells all these really cool, really specific types of rulers. And I actually need to get another one because this one's broken.
Yeah, and I don't have one at home either.
Okay,
so
you
yeah,
want one?
thank you,
Okay.
Heather.
So maybe I'll buy a couple. And what we love about this ruler is that it's exactly 5/8 of an inch. So if you wanted to come to your pattern piece, you can come in and exactly trace 5/8.
Yes.
And then because it's got the curve, you can actually do this on like curved areas and come and draw your seam allowance. So let's say we're starting from a pattern piece, we've drawn in our seam allowance. And so for that side piece that we talked about where we added the centimeter, you just added a piece of paper and added that. Same thing for that bottom cup, we added it here. Now it looks like with these pieces,
well, since we don't see it, I think you have the other picture there.
here we go.
We also had to add a little in the bust.
So what?
It seemed like, I don't know, like you could see, like she was a little tight, and when we undid the seams, it went poof, and everything was in place. So I like to put measuring tape and take a picture just to remind myself of exactly the measures.
The amount. So this is a good little tip when you're doing something really fitted like this that has a lot of seam lines. So use a seam ripper, remove your stitches, use a safety pin to kind of like hold it together so that it's not like, I mean, if you didn't have that safety pin, the whole thing would be falling apart.
And little pins, they don't stay, they just fall off, and then you're like, oh no. So I started using safety pins.
And so this is a trick you can just use at home, where if you're doing your own fitting, you just use a measuring tape, measure it.
Yeah.
Maybe you even have like a camera, I don't know. I have like little tripods at home for my cameras so that when I'm doing at-home fitting or whatever, I'm not like leaning it up against a cup. And you can actually just do your measurements that way.
Yourself,
yeah. Maybe get into a mirror with a little ruler.
That's what I do at home, or use a kit.
So what you do then is you then have, this is basically your reference document. So then when you're going to modify the pieces, so right now you can see you needed to add a 1/2 inch.
Exactly.
And so here,
half on one side, half on the other.
So you can see that here, I guess you can't see the original line, but you can see you added about a 1/4 inch here, and I can, you guys can't see the line on the other side, but you added about a 1/4 inch here, so you're splitting that width.
Exactly.
And again, you just took the original piece, put an extra piece of paper underneath it, taped it all together, and then drew in your seam allowances.
Yeah, this one I just cut the seam allowance off, and I just put another piece of paper.
Oh, okay. So for this example then, you would draw in your seam allowances.
Yeah.
You trim them and you basically spread the seam allowance out so you maintain the integrity of your line, and then you're just adding a little bit here and here. That's really smart.
Yeah.
So basically, in either case, what we're doing here with this method is we're just measuring the adjustments we made on the muslin, and then we're transferring them over. And I think sometimes when people ask us this question, how do I do this, that there's like a magic answer.
No, you just have, and trust yourself, because you know your curves, and it has to kind of look the same way, but if we have to make it here more curved, well, we make it a little more curved, because if your breast is bigger and rounder, you need more curve. So you just have to try it out.
There isn't necessarily a magic answer. No. It really is just like a ruler, finding your reference points to base your measurements on, and then transferring them to your piece. So then our second type of pattern alteration, if there is any magic to this, would be taking your muslin apart and using it as a map that you can then trace. So then you're not so much using your ruler to kind of measure, but you're actually going to use the actual pattern piece, right? But I don't feel like you do that as much. You're more of a ruler girl.
I'm more of a, because I learned pattern making on paper. So for me, working with paper is easy. And like seeing things in 3D and putting it in 2D is easier for me than just like starting to, it goes faster.
But I would say if you're like spatially challenged.
Yes, don't do that.
Which is fine. And I was just.
No, but a lot of people are.
And I'm in a relationship with one. You should see how he loads the dishwasher. It is. I feel like, Jimmy, you need to put in the clip from the Royal Tenenbaums when Bill Murray is interviewing, remember Dudley in the Royal Tenenbaums? And he gives him like a puzzle to do. And he's like, go ahead, Dudley, do it. And it's like. Whatever it looks like. And he's like, fascinating. That's how I feel every time. Chris loads the dishwasher. I'm like,
my goodness, how interesting, how bizarre.
So if you're one of those people that like the idea of putting IKEA furniture together makes you want to Harry Carey, like jump off a cliff, then maybe the measuring part is a little bit more challenging because it can be hard to look at a 2D thing and then figure out how to transfer. So then in that case, what I would suggest doing is with your muslin, and I think this you would say, this works best with muslin fabric that's really stable.
Yes, because if you start ripping stuff and your seams move and they're on the bias, everything's going to move.
Like if you're using viscose or a lightweight drapey fabric, that is not a thing that's going to work here because as you're taking the pattern apart, the pieces are going to get distorted.
Or if you use like old sheets sometimes that you can almost see through. Yeah, you're gonna have more problems. So like muslin fabric like this is amazing.
Like really sturdy fabric that's almost like paper, it's so stiff.
Yes.
So for example, here is, what is this? This is our Edith. So this is our, you see it?
Edith in French. Edith, so Edith.
So it's, you say Edith and I say Edith. So this is our Edith shirt dress with crew. So this was a muslin that actually there weren't very many modifications needed on the sample, but I just kind of drew on it to illustrate my point. So for example, it has a little bit of a princess seam. So let's say you're trying your muslin on and you've had to let it out a little bit. Maybe you went back to your machine and you sewed the seam, you know, that's part of it is like, okay, I need to let it out kind of between here and here. I'm gonna go to my machine. I'm gonna sew like a gradual curve that lets it out where I need it. And then rip out that kind of original section and try your...
But that's what you used to ask me a lot when we would fit pants on models. You would do the fitting because like you're the pant queen, and then and then you would say, okay, like take in this at the crotches, say, and I would go in the sewing machine, take it in, and we would put it back on the the model.
Yeah, I think that's unless like we have to do. So unless we're doing a major alteration where we're really giving somebody a lot more space.
Yes.
Where you actually maybe need to kind of cut your pattern piece and like build in. For the most part with pants, I think a lot of patterns can actually, unless you're like needing to add a wedge somewhere, a lot of times you can make substantial pattern alterations just within the seam allowance of the garment.
Yes.
That's part of the reason that when we started developing all of our conventions at Closet Core, I was like, well, we're definitely sticking at a 5/8 seam allowance because it just gives you the space that you need to make alterations because so many of them can just be made within the seam allowance. So all of this to say, if you have an alteration like this, and maybe you try your muslin on and you're like, you know what, the dart is not pointing at the right spot, you know, and you mark on your muslin, I actually want the dart to come down here, and maybe I want it to be a little bit longer. And so in a case like this, what I would suggest doing is like actually coming in and drawing in where the new seam line is. Maybe you even want to kind of come in and in a different color mark where the original stitch line is. And then what I would do is just take this entire piece apart, take all of the marks out, and actually use this to then transfer the pieces over. And there's two ways you could do that, right? The first one is tracing paper.
Yes.
So you could just take a piece of tracing paper and use this basically as your pattern piece that you're tracing. Or you could get your original pattern piece, right? The one that you cut out. You could put it underneath and then use transfer paper. So, you know, let's see if this is like, I think Celine's old transfer paper, and it's been used many times. Let's see if this works. But let's just pretend that this was the paper pattern piece. You've maybe aligned, maybe you've taped everything down so everything's nicely aligned. You've made sure any reference points like waist points or center front or whatever, everything's lined up, and you just want to transfer this to your pattern piece. You would just come in and then using your rotary cutter, let's see if I can do this one-handed. Come in, transfer your new lines. Say, actually, I want my dart to be here. And then that would transfer onto your pattern piece. And then you don't need to worry about coming in with a ruler or tape measure or anything. So this is another option. And I think if you're doing a lot of pattern modifications, I think especially if you're on like your third iteration, because sometimes if you're really trying to refine the fit, maybe you've made several muslins and you've adjusted a muslin, and then you're kind of, this could be a good way to kind of transfer all of that work onto a new pattern piece.
Yes. You can always also use the one that is more pointy, so then on your pattern it's actually doing little circles, so you can see if you don't have the transfer paper.
Oh, you mean actually do, oh, that's smart.
Yeah, like you put your fabric. And,
that's smart.
And you can just go like this. So then it does the little...
Oh, that's smart. Hold that up to the camera so you can see that you could actually, the pointy one.
Yeah, and then you can take your pen or whatever. I don't have like a pencil, but you can take it and just follow your circles.
Well, when you said you could use the pointy one, I was going to be like, I hate the pointy one.
No, the pointy one is really nice.
I hate the pointy.
It's just that it breaks the paper.
Well, this is what I don't like about the pointy one, is that it breaks.
When you do it too much.
If you do it too many times, your pattern piece starts to fall apart, which is why I like
the
rounded ones, because it's just like a gentle thing and it almost creates like a dash line. But that's a brilliant idea. So if you use the pointy one, you wouldn't even need the transfer paper.
No.
I guess it depends. No, because you don't care about the muslin, so you don't care if you're like perforating any holes. It's a great idea. Do you have any others?
And another one, I was looking, like when you were tracing the line here, because that's your new line, right?
Yeah.
So what I do sometimes is I do little lines like this. So then when I undo my seam, I really see where where my seam, so instead of doing just a line like that, because sometimes maybe it's just going to stay on one side, not the other, so sometimes I'll do little lines like this.
That's a good suggestion.
So, yeah.
Well, and we also just wanted to show you some examples of pattern pieces that you had modified. So here's one. So what was this?
Like this was a sleeve. So sometimes like your sleeve head is perfect, it fits great, but then it's a little tight at the bicep. So you just want to open, and we call it slash, like slash and spread.
And that would be
so it's adding like a little triangle.
Yeah, and that could be a modification that you just make your muslin, and you can just, you're like, I need a little bit more room in the bicep. You don't need to go make another muslin.
No.
You don't need to transfer
something.
You don't need to you don't need to do any math. You're just like, I could use an extra inch here. I'm just gonna slash and spread. Easy.
Exactly. And after that, you just want to make sure to redraw your line to make, because it's gonna make it more like this. So you want
because your piece is gonna go like from this to this. So then you're gonna want to come through and
make it straight. True it.
Okay, wait. I say true, and you say
true it. No, I have to say color and color.
Oh, Caller, not
Yeah.
like caller. Give her a call.
Oh, I was like, oh, no, there's
Am
a
I adding
third one. Yeah. There's a third word now.
Sorry. This is our lessons in franglais. That's what we call it in the office. Okay, so here's another example of a slash and spread modification. So I think we'll put a picture up of the model. I think in this case, this was our Josephine set, and we wanted like the waistband to be a little bit higher on her. And I think there was a little drag line that was pointing right at her tummy, saying that the drag line was like, release me.
Yes.
So we just came in, or you.
It was me. Heather's not there anymore.
I'm not there, I'm doing other things. You came in and added that wedge. And so you can see here, like if it had a this is the important thing too when you're making these modifications, that if there's a facing.
Yes, you have to do it.
You want to make sure you want to adjust your other pieces.
Yes.
So this was the pocket piece, and I can see it's like you've done the same thing. You've come in and
Exactly.
added. Look at how well that lines up. Good job.
Thank you.
And then here was the bottom pocket, and you did the
Yes.
same thing.
But I like it to do it like that better because you keep the shape of the pattern.
Yeah.
Because if I just add it here,
Right.
it doesn't do the same thing. So it's better to really like take. That's her tummy here. So
Yeah.
you say like, okay, between her tummy, I'm gonna add it. So it puts like the waistband a little higher. And you have more room.
The exception I would make to that is if it's a really small adjustment. Yeah. Like if you only need a quarter of an inch, if you're wearing it, you're like, I could use a quarter of an inch here. I would say take it from here.
Yes.
But here you can see it's like an inch that we needed at center front. So in that case, definitely it's a slash and spread situation.
And sometimes you can do the same thing to the back because sometimes you need like height here.
Yeah.
So you're gonna do the same triangle to the back.
Yeah. So that's it. Do you have any other tips for kind of transferring pattern modifications?
No, I think
we covered it. If you have any questions or if you have like particular cases where you're like, this is unclear to me, let us know. But I think just our kind of like ending tips would be just document things with pictures.
Yes, pictures.
And I think too is like not being scared to use the muslin as like a real laboratory. Like this is a test case to really kind of perfect. But I would say my closing words of advice are not to obsess and don't overfit. And like I see a lot of people want to get the fit perfect, and that desire for perfection is so crippling that a lot of the time they just they either don't start the project or they don't finish the project. And I think that's a really, I'm not going to say unhealthy because I think do I struggle with perfectionism? I think it's something a lot of us struggle with, but I think it should never interfere with your ability to get something finished.
Exactly.
Like I think perfect is the enemy of good.
Yes.
And so if you can make incremental changes with projects, or maybe, this project you learn, I like a full tummy adjustment on my pants, or I'm like consistently noticing I need a little bit more width in your back. Every project you make your fitting skills are going to grow, and it's like a destination, not a journey.
Yes.
And so like if you can make an incremental change and make it fit better, great, but don't wad it up in the corner if you're seeing like tiny drag lines. I think people just get too obsessed, and the reality is nobody else is paying attention.
No.
Nobody else cares about
you just want to be comfortable.
Yeah, as long as you're close fit and are
people
comfortable.
won't notice stuff like that.
Like we care about fit, but I don't want us to care so much about it that it like interferes with our ability to enjoy sewing.
Yeah, and maybe a last little thing is Closet Core or other companies use like the same base sizes. So like I know that I have to lengthen from like my hip to my waist when I make our patterns. So usually you'll do it on all the pants we make.
Yeah, every time I make a pair of pants, I know I need to lengthen it. So maybe before I make the muslin, I'm going to make that adjustment
so
beforehand.
those little adjustments you can make before.
Totally, that can really help.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, I hope that was helpful. Again, if you have any questions, we'll be happy to help you and answer them in the comments. If you liked this, you want to see more from us, what do?
They can follow and like our channel.
Like and subscribe.
Yes. And we post every Friday.
We post every Friday. So if you like and subscribe, you'll actually see the videos as we're posting them. That's it from us. Happy sewing, everybody.
Happy sewing.